Jötuun's been out for a while now, however I only got it a few weeks ago because I wasn't doing the forges every single week. So if you don't know how to get Jötuun, or if you don't even know what Jötuun is, it is a energy fusion rifle which works kind of like a shotgun but also like a rocket launcher, which I'll get into in a few minutes. However, you get it from the Black Armory DLC. So you have to unlock the Crucible forge, which is the last forge you unlock in the DLC. There's 4 forges, that's the last forge. You have to get a powerful frame from Ada 1, and I believe you can get 2 per week per character, so you can get 6 in total if you have 3 characters. And you have to forge the powerful frame in the Crucible forge. When you have forged the weapon at the end of the forge ignition, it will then have a chance of dropping an exotic, and that exotic can either be Le Monarch or Jötuun. However, it won't drop them again if you already have the weapon, so if you have the Monarch, it is guaranteed to drop you Jötuun if it is going to drop an exotic, so it won't drop the Monarch again, it'll only drop Jötuun. But it's not guaranteed you'll get one of those exotics every single forge ignition, so it is RNG based. So you have a chance of an exotic dropping, and that exotic can either be Le Monarch or Jötuun, depending which one you already have. I believe you do have to have Le Monarch before you can get Jötuun though, so you have to keep that in mind. But it did take me a few weeks to get it, but then again I was only doing 2 a week instead of 6, so yeah. So as per any exotic in Destiny 2, there are 5 perks, and 2 of which actually impact the weapon in a significant way. So the first perk is Charge Shot, and what this says is hold down the trigger to charge up a tracking shot that explodes and burns on impact. And the second perk is Shield Disorient. Energy matched shield explosion disorientates nearby combatants. So what these mean is that if you hold down the trigger on Jötuun, well, you have to hold down the trigger, but you hold down the trigger, it shoots a solar projectile and it is tracking on it essentially. So if you shoot from quite far away at an enemy, it'll track them pretty well if they're moving slowly. If they're moving fast, it won't track them at all really, and you cannot delete your shot, but if you're shooting at a slow moving target from quite a far distance, it is guaranteed to hit them. So it works pretty well in that regard. The perk makes it sound like you can just kind of spam the trigger and it'll shoot non-tracking shots. You can't. You have to hold in the trigger for a few seconds and then it shoots the shot. You can't just spam the trigger basically. It does sound like you can do that, but you can't. You'll see in the video what I mean. Shield Disorientate means that if you shoot a solar shield, because it is a solar fusion rifle, if you shoot a solar shield, it will do more damage to the enemy than other weapons would if you shot them with solar weapons. However, it also disorientates all nearby combatants, so if you shoot a Taken Captain in Gambit as, you know, the Taken Captain blocker, and there's a bunch of goblins and knights around him, it will disorientate all of those goblins and knights as well as do more damage to the Taken Knight, or the Taken Captain even. So it's pretty good in that regard. You do see that happen quite a lot, because I think solar shields are like the most common shield in Destiny, so it's pretty useful. The last 3 perks are Volatile Launch, Liquid Coils and Polymer Grip. These are just kind of telling you how it differentiates in terms of from the base fusion rifle stats. So Volatile Launch says it greatly increases the blast radius compared to other fusion rifles. However, it slightly decreases the handling speed and the projectile speed compared to other fusion rifles. Liquid Coils says it increases the impact damage, however it slows the charge time, so it takes longer for the weapon to charge up, however it does more damage when it does hit the enemy. And Polymer Grip says it increases the handling speed, which counteracts the slightly decreased handling speed from Volatile Launch. So if we go on to appearance, it kinda looks like a toaster, like a futuristic toaster. A lot of people have drawn this comparison. It also of course shoots solar rounds and it does burn enemies on impact, so it is basically a toaster. So a lot of people have drawn that comparison. There are no ornaments for the weapon yet, and they'll be lower on screen if you want to read that, but yeah, there's no ornaments for the weapon yet, and it kinda just looks like a futuristic toaster. So yeah, it's one of the more different exotic designs, I guess I should say, and one of the better ones I'd say, because it is exotic. It does look like an exotic weapon, so I think they did pretty well in that regard. In PvE, just in generic PvE in strikes or on patrol or whatever, it does a lot of damage to basically everything. So it tends to 3-shot generic random yellow bars, so if you see a high value target roaming around in a patrol zone like EDZ or Nessus, it tends to 3-shot them. And it's the exact same thing in Gambit with the Knight, with the Taken Knight. If you shoot the Taken Knight, it tends to 3 or 4-shot them, so yeah. Yellow bars that are around that sort of size and that sort of rank, it tends to 3 or 4-shot them, so it's pretty good in that regard. The weapon has 5 shots in a mag, and 20 shots altogether, so it's pretty good in that regard, and you basically never run out of ammo unless you're using it all the time. And matching solar shields does do a lot more damage than just shooting them with a solar auto rifle, for example. It does do a lot more damage, so it's pretty good in that regard. It also works very well with the likes of tether, because if you tether a bunch of enemies and then shoot them with Jötuun, basically they all die. So it's pretty good in that regard, because it just does so much damage that it obviously shares that around the tether and just kills everything. So it's pretty good with tether as well. In Gambit, it one-shots taken goblins, so this is the blockers, so one-shots taken goblins. It 2 to 3 shots captains, because it does so much damage by the solar shield disorientate thing that it tends to 2 or 3 shot them. And then it also 4 shots taken knights, so it's pretty good in taking out blockers. And it does shoot relatively fast. Like, I know the perks make it sound like it shoots slow, but it does actually shoot pretty fast for being a fusion rifle, which does as much damage as it does. In terms of invading and invaders, I guess, it one-shots every single guardian you'll encounter unless they're in their super, in which case it two-shots them. So even if a guardian is invading you and they have that overshield in addition to their normal health, it still one-shots them. And it also tracks them as well. So if they're moving kind of slow at a distance or whatever, it will track them basically perfectly and insta-kill them. However, if they're running along in the distance, it won't track them at all and you have to lead your shot. It also doesn't have bullet drop, which whenever I first started using Jötuun, I tried to account for like bullet drop at these long distances. It doesn't have bullet drop, so you don't need to. It shoots in a perfectly straight line unless it tracks things, in which case it'll start curving and stuff, but it does work pretty well. I have not used Jötuun in Crucible, however, I imagine it works pretty similar to how it works in Gambit with invaders, in which case it one-shots everything. So I would imagine it just one-shots all the enemies and all the guardians, unless they're in their super, in which case it 2 or 3 shots them. Obviously special ammo is a lot more scarce in Crucible compared to Gambit, however I'm sure it just one-shots them and stuff, so I'm sure it's probably pretty decent in Crucible. And yeah, as I've already said though, the gun does work kinda like a shotgun and also like a rocket launcher. The projectile speed makes it, because it's kinda slow, it does kinda work like a rocket launcher, and it does do kind of the damage of a rocket launcher compared to fusion rifle damage. However, it also works very very well up close and does a lot of damage, and you can use it like a shotgun as well. And I think it does damage you if you're too close, but it doesn't do nearly as much damage as a rocket launcher does. So it works very well as both a shotgun and as a rocket launcher as well, so I think that's why I like the weapon so much, because obviously you're using, it's an energy weapon and it's a special weapon as well, so you're using green ammo for it, and it's the exact same ammo as a shotgun, and I tend to use shotguns in the energy slot, so I tend to use a kinetic primary weapon and a energy secondary weapon, so it working so well as a shotgun, even though it isn't a shotgun, I think that's why I like it so much, as well as it just being a fusion rifle, so I think that's why it's so good, if that makes sense. So overall, it's a brilliant weapon. It's honestly one of the best exotics in the game, I'd say. It doesn't do crazy amounts of damage. Obviously Whisper, Izanagi's Burden, Warcliffe Coil, all those guns do insane amounts of damage. However, they don't have nearly as much ammo as Jötuun has. So Jötuun is a very good shotgun replacement, and also just very good for outputting damage. It feels like it should honestly be in the powerful heavy weapon slot, or yeah, the heavy weapon slot, because it just does so much damage and it's just so universal in terms of use. It does so much damage to everything, and I don't know, it just feels like it should be in the heavy weapon slot. I'm glad it isn't, because I'm sure it's much more useful in the energy weapon slot. However, it just feels like it should be a heavy weapon. The way to say it is that it is essentially a pseudo heavy weapon. It's a heavy weapon that goes in your energy weapon slot, is the way I'd say it. It works as a shotgun, it works as a rocket launcher, it does as much damage as both, and it has incredible range on tracking, and it's just great. So it is loads of ammo as well, so it works very well. I really like Jötuun. It's great in Gambit and PvE. I imagine it's great in Crucible as well. 20 shots in a mag, 5 shots in a mag, 20 shots in total, and it works as a shotgun and rocket launcher. So yet again, how to get it is do powerful frames in Berghusia Forge. It does have a relatively okay chopper rate, so it shouldn't take you too long to get it. However, you could get screwed over by RNG, but yeah, it shouldn't take too long to get, so it's pretty good. I hope you enjoyed the video, I hope it was useful, and if you did, please consider leaving a like, maybe even subscribing, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye.